It's Superhero, and you're listening to Inspirado Projecto.
Time is now 3:19. Today is Saturday the 11th of June. So, the crew is playing out here tonight at the Coach House. And it's going to be another great night. We love it here. We always sail out here. So what you're about to hear next, first of all, thank you, Superhero, for opening up the show. Thank you, Blythe Baines, for closing out the show. We're going to listen to a fun fact by Henry D. Horse. But after that, this is part 2 of the interview I had with Mystery Man. You can check out the first part of my interview with Mystery Man on Inspirado Projecto, which is what you're listening to right now. iTunes, Spotify, Pandora, TuneIn, iHeart, Podbean, Stitcher maybe, Spreaker, Castbox, Overcast, Radio Public, all kinds of different places you can hear Inspirado Projecto. But for this one, it's going to be a very intriguing interview with this young fellow who, I believe, followed me on TikTok and then found me on Instagram. And right now I'm looking at some of the pictures of the people who have played here. And I'm going to read to you some of the names of the people here before we get into the episode here. Beautiful South, Robert Gordon, King Sunny Aid, Ride, Peter Frampton, Tom Cochran. What is this? Little Feet. Is it Soupy Sales? Ron McCauley and Michael Schenker. Foreplay. The Guess Who. Wow. The Guess Who played here. RTZ. Electric Hot Tuna. There's just a bunch of them. Oh, Mighty Lemon Drops played here. I used to have one of their cassettes. Deborah Harry. Jayhawks. Dave Kaz. Interesting. Anyway, on with the show. Thank you for listening to Inspirado Projecto. And if you want to be, what's the word I'm thinking of, showcased on this episode, you can go to Inspirado. You go to anchor.fm/Inspirado Projecto, and you just click on that little button there that says voice message, and you could leave me a voice message up to a minute. But also, if you call the hotline, I think you can leave like a pretty long message on there. It's a voicemail, so you don't have to worry about talking to anyone. 561-203-9179. And thank you. Thank you for listening. We'll talk to you more later.
Here's your fun fact. Cliff Clavin makes a cameo in Empire. Cheers and Toy Story actor John Ratzenberger has a brief appearance in Empire Strikes Back. He's the one who tells Han not to go out into the cold to look for Luke. Then he sits down for a beer with Norm. How about that? Stay tuned to Inspirado Projecto for more fun facts.
As well, I love it.
Mm-hmm. All right, so close your eyes for me real quick.
Okay.
Corridor. You're in a corridor. Library. You know, there's it's a glass floor. It's not a glass ceiling, but when you look straight up, it's like this plasma, and it's very, very up there. Like it, you have wings. Remember that. You can kind of feel them if you feel it out in the spiritual realm enough. But we'll get to there in a second. You're on the ground right now. You can go. There's varying levels to the Akashic Records. There's the lower levels. There's the higher levels. And for example, right now you have your eyes closed, right? Mm-hmm. So just start walking. Just envision like a corridor. You just start walking down it, And on these walls, there's like, they almost look like TV screens. But as soon as those TV screens start to appear, you realize they're not TV screens. It's literally a live action memory. You can tap into your memories just by walking into the wall in one of those screens. And if you do it right now, you might walk into a memory that you had no clue you even remembered or anything like that. Do it, for example, right now.
I'm sensing a planet.
Planet. No, there's no wrong answers.
Yeah, I'm sensing a planet on some terrain that I just don't feel is Earth terrain.
Mars?
It could be. It could be.
Hmm.
I do see someone in. I mean, it could be. I do see a person in an astronaut suit.
Go towards them. Exchange information. Like, just say, what's up? And that's how you might get a vibe. You might get chills. You might get a rain in the ear.
Huh.
You might see something play out through their eyes. Maybe you are that person.
Well, that's neat. I'm seeing him handing me like a stone, like a crystal of sorts.
Bring it to your solar plexus. Allow its information to seep through into your being. Nothing can go wrong. Unconditional love always protects you. Know that. The only information you're receiving right now is to help your soul remember who you are. So whatever you're receiving right now, it could trigger something in weeks. It could trigger something now. You know what I'm saying?
I'm just seeing water flowing. That's all I'm seeing right now. It's just water. Water's just flowing.
Where do you feel the water? Is there a place you can feel it?
It's like I'm seeing it from bird's eye view.
Bird's eye view. Are you seeing the waters above?
Well, I'm seeing. Well, I'm as if I were the bird. Like I'm seeing it flow, like as if like it's like a river.
Ask what it means.
I'm getting the vibe. It's the stream of consciousness.
Where is it feeding?
That's what it's representing. Just all the thoughts, all the ideas, all the dreams, all the.
Is it like flowing into you? Like you have your eyes closed. Is it like there's a river flowing into you right now, and you're observing it, and it's like there's a strip almost flowing into like your now moment. It's like you can see where you're meeting the now moment into that river, that consciousness that is that river, you know, the energy.
Wow. It's peaceful. This is reminding me of, there's a Bashar video where he was talking about how imagination is the conduit for the higher mind.
Mm-hmm.
And the imagination is where all the blueprints are. And that's
you just saw source energy.
That's incredible.
I can take, okay, this is where it gets cool. Go back to that corridor. You never left it, really. It's all just where you want to be in that moment, who you choose to be in that moment. Okay, I'm standing right next to you. What's up, buddy?
I can actually see you.
You can?
Mm-hmm.
All right, take my hand. We're going straight up. Ready to fly?
Yeah.
Here we go. Now, once we get, we're going pretty fast right now up. So once we get to the top, you're going to go through this pool of plasma almost. I'll tell you 1, 3, 2. Now, what do you see? What do you feel?
I see, as I'm looking down from where we flew out of, it looks like a transparent pyramid of sorts.
It is. Now, do you see? There's a golden set of stairs. Walk up them. There is no certain amount of steps. You get to the top when you get to the top. And what you see when you get to the top could be anything.
I'm envisioning one of those. It's like on a pedestal or like a table or something, but it looks to me. I see something like those machines that are like a circular ball of energy, and you could put your fingers on it, and you could see like the electricity shoot to your
Yeah,
finger.
touch it. You can channel energy through that. You can channel thoughts through that. It's crazy. It's not crazy. You know what I'm saying? It's that you can change the color of it, you can change the consistency of its vibration, and you can use that to connect to your chakras. Okay, for example, that ball of energy you're seeing in that like that dais or whatever, that circle you got to the top of the stairs at, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Interact with it, change its color. If you have a chakra that feels out of balance right now, change to that color and allow that energy to fluctuate into that chakra and rebalance it through
Oh,
your
that's
breath.
cool.
You're in contact with source energy for the first time, probably. Like, this is pure source energy. You're literally in you can hug it. You can ask it questions. I mean, if you get down to it in that deep meditative state where your mind's completely silent, you can hear that inner voice and you can have a conversation with it and hear your own voice in your head, just like you're having a conversation with somebody else. And it's beautiful, dude.
Wow. That's incredible. I've heard so much about the Akashic Records, and Dolores Cannon has talked about this with QHHT, where she brings people into this area, and she says that there's like a tapestry in a room where the tapestry is like a woven of everything that's ever been, it's recorded within this tapestry. She talks about a room like that she's been brought to a lot of times with QHHT, and I've talked to, and I've read about, the Akashic Records. It's astounding that it's this simple to be able to get to.
Do you see any chairs on that circle dais around you? There's a chair for.
I do see one.
The one in front, it can be. It depends. There's Divine Mother, which is the source feminine energy, and then there's Divine Masculine, which is the source masculine energy. And then there's another chair, and it's both of them in one. It's the Trinity. It's the duality. We don't just live in a duality. We live in a Trinity with the observation of those things, the observation of the two aspects. And then that helps you create that three-dimensional experience, because you have the two eyes, you have the masculine and feminine eyeball, you have those polarities to the sides of your body, and then you have the one eye in the center of your head. The only way you can see the gates of heaven is through that one eye. They talk about it in the Bible and all that. It's think about there has to, how I said there has to be an internal world just as much as an external one. There's an internal sun just as much as there's an external one. There's like all the planets, you have them inside of you, and they're also outside of you. It's amazing. You can make your own planet. You have your own planet, for Christ's sake,
That's incredible. Now, at what point did you start receiving such information like this to know these aspects?
Well, I started reading a book. It's called, if you believe in, let's say source, which is, I believe, it's your highest good. It's not your highest good, but it's like your unconditional love. What would unconditional love do for you in every facet right now? If it wanted you to just experience who you are and be who you are, which is you are the first thing that was ever said is I am that I am.
Mm-hmm.
And you are what you are in that essence. Like, I don't know how to explain it. I started reading that book, and that book, I believe, is literally like source dropped the key down, like literally in the center of like humanity. Like, it's an audio book on YouTube too. It's called A Conversation with God by Neil Donald Walsh. And
dude, it's funny that you're saying this specifically right now, because as you were talking to me earlier, I had a flash of a flashback of when my buddy Phil said, "Kurt, you need to read Conversations with God." And it was funny because while you're talking to me, while we were actually in the Akashic Records, I had a quick flashback of that. So it's very incredible that you just now.
It's the moment's all fitting into right now, man.
All right, so this is something to pay attention to. Holy cow!
So if God was right in front of you right now, God, don't think of it as a dude, a wizard, a sky wizard. It's what you just experienced. It's that source energy. It's all of it. Okay, and you're experiencing yourself in it as a creation of it. And it's so cool. If you were to have a conversation with yourself, which is that source energy, that true you, that unconditional love, it would tell you to read that book 100-fold right now. Read it as many
Wow.
times as you can. And there's a whole series of them. I'm on the third book personally right now, but it's like this dude in his mid-40s. He's really done with life. He's at his ends meet. He's one of us. He's one of these people who's came down to channel this information and be a pillar of light. His name's Neil Donald Walsh, and he just starts writing his thoughts down on paper, having a conversation with himself, and writing down those conversations on a piece of paper. And the information throughout these books is so like, how did that come? It's kind of like how you see Bashar. Like, where is that coming from? You know,
Right.
and it really breaks down the ego. Like those books, they break it completely. I plan on reading them over and over and over again. That's what Source tells me when I ask it, because those books, I believe, are literally the key. In like just here, like Metatron is the one who told me to read those books, and he said, if you want, I can't teach you anything else. We've talked about all we can talk about. You need to read those books so I can have these next level conversations with you, because that's when the
Wow.
internal realizations start coming. That's when you get back into contact with that soul, and you don't need outside information anymore. It all comes from within, your own source.
You know, it's so interesting. Once I started really, because there's what's called the transformative shifting cube that Bashar, these tools. Every day I've been doing this. So when I wake up, because that's important, like that state of mind, right when you wake up. And I've been doing these, and the idea is, you follow this particular diagram with your eyes into the center, and there's certain things that you say out loud and everything. But what's cool is it's a way to detach you from the 3D sort of mentality, and for you to realize just how you are creating, your reality around you. And
Mm-hmm.
the cool thing is that with this, in addition to this, the idea is to write down all your synchronicities, write down all your dreams, and as you do that, you start really being able to attach, like, okay, wow, this thing is happening. I can see very clearly this thing is happening directly because I had this phenomenal conversation with this person about that specific thing 3 days before. And now all of a sudden it comes out of nowhere and here's this thing. And you can actually just look right at it and go, very recognizable. Yeah. And when I was doing that, it was crazy because I used to substitute teach for 9 years. And during that time, I was doing this transformative shifting cube. And I got to tell you, man, there's so many times where I would just off the top of my head, some kind of analogy about something. And I'd say a specific thing. Like I remember this one kid, I was talking to him about, I think I was talking to him about balance or something. And I said, okay, let's say, for instance, you ice skate. No one in their right mind would think that you could actually ice skate on a blade like that. Yet somehow people do, and they flip around, do all this cool stuff. Yeah. It's this balancing. It's that, and you're skating on thin ice too. So there's that aspect, but somehow it's making it work. And this kid tells me, the kid goes, Mr. Clendenin, I am an ice skater, and I go to ice skating classes every day after school. And I'm like, of course you do. Why would that idea beam into my brain while I'm speaking specifically to you? Like, there it is. And I would find so much of that going on when I was, whenever I do this transformative.
You're very in tune with that inner voice. That's why.
Oof.
The whole thing is, the second you're born, all you have is that inner voice. And from that inner voice, and you make all these other voices, all these other characters, you make these illusions, and they get you to go away from that inner voice, even, because there's a version of you right now who is the complete polar opposite to this information you're trying to achieve. It is trying to pull you down each and every moment. You realize that? That's your shadow side, and it does not, you know what I'm talking about. It's the one that when you're getting this information, it's like, oh, I need to slow down. I can't, it's
right.
I don't want to do this right now.
Yeah. It's like that. I would say it's like sort of the ego mind, or even if I would say perhaps it's the mind that's been taught by other people how to behave, and what to do. And
every emotion that is not love stems from fear. Every single one.
And isn't that interesting? When you lead with love, that's when the universe really opens up all these great
when you realize that there only is love. Fear is love. It's a crazy concept, but they're both created in the heart.
Mm-hmm.
And fear is created out of the misunderstanding of what unconditional love really is. And it is that nothing can go wrong. There is no thing to go wrong. There is no good or bad. And what you you get into like paranoias about, oh, am I gonna change this structure of reality just by thinking about it? No, you have to vibrate at unconditional love, be in contact with source to be able to literally change the fabric of the matrix. That's why we haven't blown this shit up already, you know? That's why we don't just think about it and blow the planet up, because we wouldn't be given these tools if we weren't ready for it. We have to master unconditional love before we can do this.
Yeah.
And we're not mastered it yet, but we're in a progressive phase right now where we're seeing the manifestations of our striving towards it, and it's showing up in our consciousness. It's the conversation we're having right now. It wouldn't be happening.
Astounding. It's so incredible when you look at that, and you just realize, yeah, this is a pre-planned something that was kind of, in the limitless arena. We're like, okay, here we go. At some point, this conversation is going to happen.
We just
when
want
we're ready.
Really, you can't take yourself serious. This was never supposed to be taken serious. I mean, that's part of the game. You can do that too, and you're having just as much fun. Your soul's having just as much fun, regardless. It's just, your ego is the medium to all this, and your ego at a certain point doesn't even have to really. Your ego is kind of everything in between unconditional love and fear, and once you get to that unconditional love vibration, there is no more ego. It's pure source. It's pure your highest good. It's your highest good in the essence of the exact highest possibility and outcome you're striving for in that moment, whatever you have your mind set on. And it's not, I don't even know how to explain it, man. It's source will start downloading, like, you need to do this, you need to do that. Like, you can walk into a grocery store at some point and just know the food you're supposed to pick up because you can feel it. You don't have to really, do all these like, oh, I have this lack of minerals in my body. Oh, I'm deficient in this. No, you just can feel what you should pick up to eat. You really get back to this, like, I am part of everything, and you figure out what you resonate with. You can feel a magnetic pull on the things you should pick up to eat. Like, I use alcohol as an example. When I look at alcohol, I've always felt a very dark pull, like in the center of my gut when I look at it. And it's because alcohol is it's you translate it, it goes back to, it means body eating spirit. And there's a realm of spirits or whatever, and it's at your own will, but you are subjecting yourself to having your spirit eaten, pretty much. Like, you can't, your spirit can never go anywhere. Nobody can take or possess your body, but you're feeding those dark energies within yourself, and you're manifesting this darker person with that vibration that alcohol is, Because it doesn't leave your blood for over a year.
Well, wow, I didn't know
After
that.
one time you drink it, and
No way.
think about its vibe when it's just going through your bloodstream.
I did not know that.
That's why it's on every shelf in the store. That's why marijuana doesn't get sold in stores, man. That's because they literally subject us to, like, suicide by our own will. It's because we like doing these things, though. We like harming ourselves, apparently.
Well, we've also been taught it. We've been all of that stuff has been, and we, you already know this, but it's been taught to us through the news. It's been taught to us through the politics. It's been taught to us through the people who are trying to sculpt the brains, the people who really know the neuro-linguistic programming. The people who know what keywords to use and what spells to cast and how to move minds to accept certain things. And especially when you have when people's favorite celebrities are backing up, hey, you should go do this, that, the government is saying, and this pharmaceutical companies, whatnot, are saying. It's like, and then it looks like, oh gosh, well, I'm going to be the odd man out here because, like, oh gosh, if I don't do this. So they prey on that. It's so funny because when I was substitute teaching, as I was looking around, I go, oh my gosh, they're intentionally trying to raise a dumb future, an obedient future. They're trying to just simply go, guess what? What you're learning now is all you're going to be doing for the rest of your life. So when you go into a business and you're working in your cubicles and they're telling you what to do, what not to do, here are the protocols, here's what to do. It trains you to go, oh, who's the authority figure on this? Who has the most, awards or accolades that I need to listen to? Oh, rather than going, what's what's my heart telling me? What direction am I leading in here?
Yeah.
And, how is that going to affect me in a positive manner? And,
It's
with
all cookie cutter routes.
Well, yeah, and it's crazy because exactly, and that's the other thing too with the clicks. It's like, okay, am I going to be a punk rocker? Am I going to be a skateboarder? Am I going to be a jock? Am I going to be, in the theater department? Okay, which identity am I going to slip into? And so that at that age, it's like, no matter what quote identity that someone is holding so hard onto, no matter what they're doing, it's still a limited perspective, because no matter what, within this identity of the punk rockers, do you think his friends are going to laugh at him or say, oh wow, that's really cool, you do that? If he goes, I listen to country music, or I listen to classical music, oh dude, you're supposed to be listening to Sex Pistols, man, come on, what are you doing? You're not a punk rocker, right? There's always that kind of like shame or something attached if you go outside of those boundaries of whatever that costume is, whatever that character that's being played is. So it's really intriguing when you find yourself breaking free of those things and going, okay, what really thoughts are my own? What really am I doing because I want to be doing it, not that I'm doing it out of guilt or because someone else told me that I had to do it, or, I'm doing this because this is the direction that needs to be, going in. And I found that the more I started talking about my investigations of like extraterrestrials and paranormal stuff and all these fringe theories, I just started feeling so much better about myself, like going, wow, this feels so good to actually allow people the opportunity to make fun of me for this kind of thing, to allow people to decide whether they want to come out and say, wow, that's something else, that's something I too have been investigating, let's talk about it together. And so it became so freeing because it was like a beacon in finding those people.
Yeah, it gets you out of that. Like, you ever listen to Alice in Chains?
I used to.
There's a song called "I'm the Man in the Box," Man in the Box, and he's speaking from humanity's perspective. He says, "I'm the man in the box, buried in my shit. Won't you come and save me?" And it's like, we can't save you. You're buried in your own shit.
Right. Won't you come and save me?
That's why all these, you can see in some of these musicians, I know you can because you are one yourself, they sprinkle the truth in it because they're attached to these record companies and these labels that don't allow them to, freely speak the truth. So they have to hide their messages. And a good example of that, I think, is Pink Floyd, Red Hot Chili Peppers, all those kind of bands,
Right.
And they have a lot of truth, like, based lyrics, and a lot of, I believe all music is a spell, realistically. I believe it you can get somebody to kill somebody with, you can change a whole human's vibe with that.
Yes.
It's so powerful. It's not, when people say that music isn't powerful, it's a complete lie.
Oh my God.
You can, if you play the right frequencies, you can get somebody to go insane. You can get somebody to do anything with a tone. And it's, what are we feeding our minds all day? What affirmations are we getting in there? And the Pink Floyd songs, for example, they have overlaid messages. It's like, you really have to use your ears for what they're for. You have to hear their soul speaking, not just the words they're speaking, and hear the message behind the words. And that's when you start to uncode all these messages they just leave for us, because they can do that kind of stuff because we're not taught how to use our intuition as a society to begin with. So the people that do end up doing it, they end up knowing that those people were meant to find those messages anyways, So they're doing really the best they can.
Well, and also I would say the Beatles are too, when they're talking about I am you and you are me and we're all together.
I have to tell you a lot about that. Oh my God. Paul did die. The real Paul did die.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, tell me about all this stuff that you were mentioning on Instagram.
Paul died in 1966 in a car crash. How it happened was like very symbolic of what the Beatles even like stood for at the time. Like, there was a fight, he stormed off or whatever, and he went to this friend's house and he got a little drunk or whatever, and then he saw this hitchhiking girl after he left that dude's house in his car he was driving. And once she got into the car for a little bit, they started talking. Then she realized, oh, that's Paul McCartney. She started freaking out. She started getting all over him. And then a big truck came by on the other lane. And as she's getting all up in his lap, freaking out and stuff, he's trying to calm her down. Big car crash, Paul he died right there. He got decapitated. They had to cover it up. Because think about how much money the Beatles are pulling in for the British economy. They were literally bringing that side of the world back to life, in an essence. And when I think about it and I feel it out, I haven't got all the answers myself when I go back, and there's reasons for it, obviously, but they were very controlled in the music they could release, the things they could say, the things they could do, and it was like torture, pretty much. Like the new Paul dude, he's pretty much like a psychological experiment. He was like a Frankenstein. They tried to get the actual Paul's spirit to channel through him at a certain. They tried to get Paul to come back through that guy. Like, that's the original reason they went to India, is to like try to have Paul possess that dude's body. I don't even know how they got him to that point. His name's Billy Shears. It's a really sad story, but that dude, he ended up dying in 1977 or whatever from a heart attack. That there's been so many Pauls since then. It's ridiculous. But it's all just to keep the money going, you know. But really, Paul, I mean George, John, and Ringo, none of them died until John was the first one to go after Paul, and they pretty much, I wouldn't say they suffered, because they could have got the information out if they, like, it was a life or death thing, though, you know, like, we'll kill your kids if you start talking about this, we'll kill your family, we'll expose things, like false blackmail, all these things, you know. And that's really what ends up happening to celebrities now. It's a perfect example of why they don't share the truth, because they're really at their life's end when they try to say that kind of stuff. Like, and you go back through all the songs, and you can really, I've done it myself, and you can hear the meanings they're trying to say, and people just, oh, I love that song. There's just it's so glazed over what the song actually means, and like, that's really why I don't want to be famous. I have already got to a point where I'm trying to spread a message of love through my music, and that's all I want to do, because I literally, at this point in my soul's journey, do not want to be alive if love is not plentiful, if I cannot help provide it in some way on this, like, barren world of fear we're in right now, you know. And it's gonna, if we don't stand up right now, it's gonna become hell. We're already living in it day in, day out. Like, how much more do you want it to be hell? Let's make it heaven, for, you know.
A couple of things. First of all, there's a really good book. There are a bunch of different books, but one's called Billy's Back. One calls Memoirs Memoirs of Paul. Yeah, the Billy's Back. It's about Billy Shears, and that's written by Tom U. Harriet. That's a phenomenal book. They did a revision to it. I haven't read the new revision to it, but all that stuff you're talking about concerning Billy Shears.
Billy Shears was like, he wrote stories up in newspapers about the Beatles and stuff before all that stuff. Like, in the Strawberry Fields video, you can see him on a typewriter on the piano as they're like spinning around the piano or whatever. Mm-hmm. Like, those strings you see attached to that piano is what the band became. The strings attached are all the, like, things, all the reasons they couldn't be them anymore. They couldn't be their authentic selves. And you could see that Paul dude up on the tree, like, next to that red light, and that's the fight or flight, you know, that's the fear. He had control over them in that aspect. And I believe in some aspects, he was controlled too, the fake dude. And it's all for money, but that he if you really listen to the Strawberry Field lyrics and A Day in the Life, those kind of songs, mm-hmm. you really, like, what else was he talking about? Nobody really knows what these songs mean. And everybody's, oh, it's such a good song. He's really just spilling out the entirety of what, like, his story, like, right. Strawberry Fields. You know how in the end you can hear the car horns and stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like he's hiding the metaphors. He's hiding all the truth in these metaphors. In this book, it was talking about how a lot of, like, oh gosh, what was it? There's that song about, like, monkey finger. Oh gosh, what song was it? Like, they're talking about the glass onion. You know, the glass.
Oh
onion.
Yeah.
And so those are handles that were on the caskets back in the day. They called them glass onions. They were these circular, clear things. And so mm-hmm. It's funny, like, even in their record label, Apple Core, what's a Paul corpse? You probably know that. But their Apple records, and it's Apple Core. Well, it's a Paul corpse. So it's interesting when you see how many of these things, like, there's a guy named Mike Williams. He goes by the name of Sage of Quay on YouTube, and he's got amazing slideshow presentations about this, where he goes all the way down the rabbit hole of showing it's not possible that the Beatles could have, I think he talks about, is it Rubber Soul? He talks about, like, there's no possible way that they could have come up with brand new material, make all this music, and put it out on album, and for it to be released within such a short amount of time, because he was talking about how long it takes for the acetate, how long it takes.
This is why I believe in this divine stuff, like this divine orchestration. I believe Billy Shears was like a musical genius, and though I believe some of the songs that were on the, like, okay, let's say Paul just died, and then they still have a lot of material they're yet to release, and they probably did use some of his pre-written songs and all that, use them as ideas, even with the uncompleted ones. But at like Penny Lane, for example, that song, that's the ghostwriter. His name's Denny Lane.
Yes, I've heard of Denny Lane.
Yeah. Penny Lane is in my ears and in my eye.
Wow.
I think they put that dude under hypnosis and just fucked with him. Like, I'm sorry for my language, but that dude was like a Frankenstein.
Denny Lane. It's so interesting. There's a really good group that I think you might get a kick out of. They're called Famous Groupies, and they're named after the Wings song called Famous Groupies. And so this band, they have a very Paul McCartney sound to them, very Paul McCartney vibe, and they very prolific. They got like 5 albums out in the course of like 2 years, and it's really interesting when you look up Famous Groupies. There's this whole idea that that the music that's being used for the Famous Groupies was written by one of the ghostwriters for the band, for quote Paul McCartney, unquote. So there was all that music was stuff that was ghost written for him. But so this kid found all of his grandpa's all these songs that he had written, and they were intended for Paul McCartney. And so the story goes, all the music that's out on the albums, the Famous Groupie albums, is the music that was supposed to be written for Paul McCartney. But then then Grandpa died, and all those songs were kind of hidden, in the archive. So it's fascinating when you go down these rabbit holes and you start learning about this stuff. Now, how did you come across the Paul is Dead stuff?
Well, I came across it because my buddy, he's alive right now, and there's a Paul alive right now. So it kind of just didn't add up, I was like, huh. And the thing is, this kid, his past life is Paul McCartney. And I met the birthday party I was talking about where I met Z. I met him at this kid's birthday party because we were already friends. We met each other through each other, and it really started when we started opening up to each other and talking. We started getting like memories. We started getting feelings. We started getting smells. It was everything, anything you can imagine, and it's very nostalgic. It's very scary at the same time because we still see parts in ourselves that could lead to our destruction. Still, like things we have to work through and why we're still like playing this game, and we're getting there. Me and Z right now, we took acid a couple of days ago, and we had a very eye-opening experience. Like our present moment became absorbed by getting information from source. Like we know why we're here. We remember coming down here. Remember the exact moment we even chose to enter the body.
Whoa!
And it's very overwhelming, but the type of souls that we are, even you're a way shower. I don't know how people like you haven't gone crazy. That's the amazing part. Like I can see you never let nobody mess with that child part of you. Even though it might have got tampered with a little bit, you never at its core level let it get disturbed. And you still have it.
Dude, I love that you say that because it's so true. It's so true.
You never that's probably something your soul had dealt with before, and it was like, I'm not letting anybody mess with who I am anymore.
It's funny, dude. You're spot on, dude. You are spot on. You're spot on.
I mean, if you want to start talking about, I'm very good at uncovering things about. How you said you just found that kid ice skates and all that.
Yeah,
like, I've always been able to just. People won't open up to anybody, and then I can just have these words that slice through them like butter. Not in a bad way, but it's like it gets to the issue. It gets to all these uncovering things, you know. It's like I can talk right through the veil.
I think that's brilliant. I think that's
Yeah.
brilliant.
When you're
There's
talking from your heart and you're speaking through your higher throat chakra, you really are talking to that person's soul. You're talking directly to like the live energy source, the fractal of source that they are. Like a fractal is a part. It's not any less, it's not any more. It's equal with the source. And that's what we all are. Each individual being. We're
you know,
all
it's interesting because like there's something called the Mandelbrot fractal, and I love looking at fractals because that's been something that's always interested me is fractals, because the more you zoom in, it's still, you can never get to the bottom of what the thing is, because everything that you're zooming into is just a tinier representation of the bigger thing. And it's just absolutely fascinating. There was a time where I smoked salvia, and I had all these revelations, and I was just writing, just like automatic writing. And that's where those ideas of like reciprocation, collaboration, precipitation, those kinds of like cooperation, those kinds of things,
when I
like
first
us
saw your
working with each
name,
other.
Inspirado Projecto, I got like deja vu. Like, because you channeled that from part of you that is original, you know?
Man,
It's really cool, you know? I see a movement being started with you, really. And no matter how big or how small you want it to be, you can do it, like, with love. I believe you have a band right now, Yacht Leaker. I don't know how into all this stuff your buddies are or anything, but all you got to do is be a way shower, do conscious breathing in front of them, like be that loving source, and they'll be like, why can't I do that or whatever. I'm not saying they don't already do that, you know, but it's like if it's hard to get the message through to them or something, like you have to be the example. You cannot you can do what I'm doing, having this conversation right now to you to help, but at the end of the day, nobody can save you but you. And that's the
right.
realistic part of it.
And it's fascinating you're saying this, because they're always making fun of me. Like when I'm like, oh my gosh, another synchronicity. And I'm always pointing them out no matter what. And, there's usually a guy or two who would be like, oh, no, I mean, it's a small world. Oh, wow, what a small world. There's always that. Or like, oh, what a quinky dink. And it's like, okay, it's not that. It's like, yes, it's a small world and it's magical. Let's focus on that aspect, folks.
Yeah.
Like here we are at this moment in time. This specific thing was said three hours ago over at that location, when a person who looks exactly like this person who's now sitting in front of us now, and then that song was playing at that same time that other thing was going.
Mm-hmm.
This is something to pay attention to, you guys. And it's funny because now they'll sort of like they'll be like, ooh, it's a.
They don't want to tell you. Okay, this is a message I'm getting from source.
Yeah.
They're very interested in what you talk about, but they're almost that masculine side of them is almost embarrassed to be in touch with that kind. You know what I'm saying? Can you feel it too?
Wow.
Like,
yeah, and it's what's neat is they're now starting to open up to it. They're now starting.
There's nothing that can stop it now. It's happening through everybody, man.
Dude. Oh, I love it. Because holy cow, this music, it's all love songs. It's all, all these good vibes, people coming together, singing together, putting our arms around each other and just feeling so unintimidated, they're just pure, like, okay, we're all here together. Who cares how I sing, how you sing? We're all just singing it. We're screaming it. And it's so cool because to be able to go and just like blast out such great vibes to these audiences, it just feels so good to know that these people can have, these 2 hours of solace and enjoyment that exists outside of whatever they were previously watching on the news or whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever was going on.
I believe the Colosseum, in like the Romanian times and all that. I believe they had acoustics built into that thing. I believe the way the sound carried around it, the way they created that thing, it was like somebody got it through a dream vision, and it created this, like, there really is no separation in dimensions. Like you hear 4D, 5D, all these things, they're really just labels. I mean, you can get stuck on them. That's the whole thing, and it created what I would call like a fifth dimensional experience. Like people would end up, the gladiators in that stadium would end up doing some supernatural stuff because of all the collective ideas of the people watching, and crazy stuff would go down. Like, and it was happening live action. It was like right then, and all these people had I want this person to, I want this to happen this way, and it would end up creating these fascinating like fights and stories, and that's why people loved it so much.
Wow. Wow, that's incredible. I frequently think about that with sporting events and how, like, oh my gosh, they get it
Yeah,
so
it's worship. It's really bad, actually. Like these
well.
people worship these celebrities like gods, and then the energy they're feeding them literally gives them like supernatural abilities.
Well, and it's interesting because, like, as I look at these sporting events, I'm like, okay, they're like, this is a symbolic representation of the universe, how universe is talking through us and with us, and
Mhm.
but the sporting events it's like they're right onto the edge of like totally being just that, but then but then it goes and it goes off, and what that is, where it becomes sort of like damaged. It's
Mhm.
where that where that is the us versus them mentality. It's like, oh my
Yeah.
god, you guys got everything right. You're getting everything right, except if we just take out the us versus them mentality,
Yeah.
and it's we're all here to. Let's say if you got stadiums of those people who are cheering and feeling good, and it's like they're in that source, that ooh, they're so excited source, and while they're doing that, they're imagining world peace. They're imagining,
Yeah.
everything being awesome for the
That's how we
world.
do it.
Right? Like, oh my gosh, like how
It
powerful
happens
that
through
would be.
music, dude. Music is the language of the soul. This is your job. Like if you resonate with music, that's why you're meant to do it. You're meant to be, whether it gets you famous, whatever it does, it's supposed to make you feel alive. It's supposed to make you bring joy within, like all that. Like I forgot how to have fun for a good portion of my life. Like I did let these people get to me. And it happened for a reason, it. But I got to a point when I wasn't really me at all. I had no authenticity that I expressed outwardly. I always had it inside, but I didn't think it mattered, at a certain point, because everybody just made me feel like, oh, you're just the next average Joe. You're just going to be working that 9 to 5, having the dream life with the kid. Just that thing that it just
Yeah.
sounds so beige and
Yeah.
plastic, and it never sat right, and I fought it every step of the way, and now I just accept it for what it is, and I'm doing what I'm gonna do. I mean, it sounds like I have to be who I'm gonna be. I have to be an example. The things I talk about, I've barely done anything that I wanted to do yet. I'm 17 years old. Let's preface that I just turned 17 the other day.
Dude, and congratulations for being this far advanced at such an early age. Like, all the stuff that you're telling me now took me years to come to these revelations and these realizations of. And gosh, dude, you are right now at the position that I wish that I was, knowing what I know now. What I know now is what you know now and more. You know much. You've got lots of revelations, and dude,
Yeah.
you're by you having this and continue to grow in this manner. Whoa, dude, you're going to be affecting the populace just amazingly.
I have to get to a mentality where I'm not afraid of death, because there is no death, and that's what this John Lennon thing has taught me, because I remember dying. I remembered that recently on the acid trip. Actually, it was a thing. It was kind of sad, but it was at the same time. Remember when it went black? I remember. I'm not done.
Wow. So what, after the guy shot
Oh,
shot
he
you on the
knew. His
steps or
whole
whatever?
thing was he knew he was gonna get shot. He was playing it out in his head for weeks before it even happened. Like he had these premonitions. But he pretty much manifested it on himself because he couldn't get out of his own head with it. He was like, the second it happened, he was thinking about it. He didn't even know the dude was behind him. He's like, I'm about to get shot right now. And then it happened. He hit the ground in complete disbelief, and he's like, yeah, this has happened.
Whoa.
And it happened. This is how it kind of ties in to the other past life, but he had seen that dude previous in the day. You know the story. He took the picture with him, all that. Mark Chapman, and he came back that night with Yoko. Yoko was going up first. She was like a bit ahead of him. They were going up to dinner to see Sean or whatever, and like as they were walking, there's this greeter at the front of the gates to the Dakota, and he gave him $100 bill. Benjamin Franklin's on the $100 bill. Just another synchronicity, but
Ooh.
it's like he gave him that, and Mark David Chapman watched him do that, and I'm pretty sure jealousy brewed within him. Why didn't he give me any money? And it took him out of his mind almost. He got taken over by an evil force, because at that moment, John Lennon had information with him that could have changed it back then. The love movement could have started. That's happening right now back then because of this information. So,
this is the herbal essences.
Thanks.
I've always loved the song give peace a chance. I always thought that was such a powerful song, and
Yeah.
you know,
Well,
when things were shut down and there were people
he
doing
tried his
crazy.
he tried his best, but at the end of the day, he could not be his own example. He could not be. He always talked about these things. John always talked about, I want to be this, I want to be that, I want this in the world, I want that. But it came down to how much can he be what he's speaking of, you know? And
Mm-hmm.
he couldn't in that life because the record labels, the control they had over him. He got killed by the same people that killed John F. Kennedy, man. It's around the same time too, you know, the same kind of era, and it's I don't know, it's crazy. They did I believe they did psychological experiments on the dude that killed him since he was a kid, because there's a whole story about it that he was like gifted, and the Mark David Chapman dude, he was different. So this mom started taking him to this, like, they'll call it MK Ultra nowadays, but they were just taking this kid there, experimenting with him, so they could have like essentially a ticking time bomb whenever they needed it to kill this person if they open their mouth, this person if they open their mouth. You know, they have a lot of these people just waiting around.
Yes.
And there's trigger words, there's all that kind of thing. And that ties into the fucking Frankenstein Paul dude. Like, he had trigger words that would make him like channel Paul's spirit and shit for a couple seconds.
Whoa.
Be able to have song ideas. Like, for example, there's a bunch of songs where he's just like spewing meaning. Like, there's one lyric where he's like, things that weren't important yesterday, and I feel good. I forgot what that song is, but it's very bone chilling, to be honest with you. It's that I can't even really speak on it. It's kind of I still have to sit with it, and it's very kind of like, it's disturbing in a way. Like, how could somebody live as somebody else for that long? Like,
Yes.
you ever heard the song by the Wings, "The Band on the Run"?
Yes.
Yeah, he's literally just telling you right there, like, they've been on the run. They're hiding from all these people who are trying to, like, there's people that knew from the get go that wasn't Paul, dude, and they were trying to fucking bust him from the beginning, you know, and that's what they're running from: the courts, the judges, the police, the band. All the band members knew he wasn't the real, you know, guy.
Right. And in fact, one of his members in Wings, that he always calls him Billy, and it's kind of interesting, isn't it? You know, it's like, hello, Billy.
There's this clip where George is talking to John at like a dinner table in like the 1970s, and he says, "Oh, you remember Beetle Bill or whatever?" And it just gave me goosebumps. It's like a split second recording where they were actually talking like how they would talk around each other, not just when the cameras were on, at like the Get Back sessions and shit. I watched the Get Back sessions like very psychically, and I could just see how much they were suppressing. You ever heard the song Revolution 9? Like that?
Yeah. Yes.
That is, if you listen to that with your eyes closed with some good headphones, maybe a psychedelic or two, you feel all of it. You feel their whole story. All
Wow.
of it. You can hear shh, shh all the time through it. Like, keep your mouth shut. Shh, shh. It's just, it's creepy.
Whoa.
You can hear Paul get into a crash. You can hear books flipping, like pages burning. Like, at the end of Strawberry Fields, they say it's he says cranberry sauce. Like, why would he say cranberry sauce? Okay, he says I buried Paul at the end of the song.
Right.
And when I first heard that, I had the image flash through my head of how it happened. It was just George and John that buried him. Ringo wasn't there. I think Ringo had something to do with the police getting involved to begin with. If you look at the Abbey Road cover, you know those pictures that you look at with your mind's eye, and then they start to uncover things. Yeah, there's like a knife behind Ringo. If you look at the Paul dude, you can see like a blue aura come out in front of him, and that's like the actual Paul spirit, and he's frowning. You can see the police in the background, like behind where John is. There's that dude with his hand in his pocket, pretty much with a gun, waiting for one of them to open their mouths. And Ringo's dressed in black, just like the car, just like the dude that. Like, you got to look at the colors in those things, the correlations. You can, in the trees. There's the trees that are behind George. There's fingers pointing over to where the cop is, pretty much. Like, in the trees, there's faces in the trees. It's really crazy.
Wow. And I know the Sgt. Pepper's album is just filled with all kinds of, specific.
The thing is, okay, I'm gonna have this conversation. I have not known what, like, this podcast is gonna get posted, and what do people think about this? You know, what do they do with this when there's this much live information? There's this much. If there's people that are feeling what I'm saying right now, they know I'm not telling. They know I'm not lying. Okay,
Right.
and that's the whole thing. It's what happens when these people start saying stuff. Am I going to die? These are the things I've worried about.
Well, I mean, I think the powers that be,
Yeah.
what was it? There's that great quote that says, with the CIA goes, okay, if people trust it or don't trust it, we've done our job.
Yeah.
If people don't know which way to look or what's real or what's not real, we've done our job. So with all
Yeah,
the
and that's why I
information
believe I get on this podcast to begin with, because I believe the people who are meant to find it will know, and it won't matter because nobody's gonna believe them anyways. That's the honest answer.
Well, and it's always interesting to I love a good mystery, and I like filing paper trails, and I like seeing the breadcrumbs, and I like seeing how things match up, and I get such a kick out of it.
Yeah, the people who aren't meant to believe it aren't going to, and that's so.
Oh, right. And so the reason why I said that was that what you're putting out on this podcast, it is cool because there of course are going to be those people who consider it. They're going to go down the rabbit hole. They're going to start looking at the album covers. They're going to start learning more about it, maybe about past lives, about conversations with God. I mean, you have planted so many wonderful seeds here, and who knows what these people are going to do with this information. I mean, this podcast goes out to Iceland and Alaska and France, and I mean, it goes out all over the place. And I always think, like, wow, what some fisherman out there is, who knows where, Nebraska or something, is listening to this podcast and considering these things while he's waiting for his fish, to bite on the hook, and that's just astounding.
When I sit here and ask Source, even Source tells me that it's okay for you to post this. Like, it's my own fear kicking in that I don't believe everything will be all right, and that's where I have to work. That's why I really haven't put myself out there to begin with, because I know who I am. I know what I came here to do at this point, and it's kind of scary in a way. But that's what's stopping me. That's the mind killer right there. I got to work over that. My ear just rang, and I know it.
Wow.
I would like to meet you someday. I don't know how it's gonna happen, but
I think it'd be great. It'd be awesome to jam. Actually, one thing I want to ask you was, have you, with the other, Beatles members, have you gotten together with these guys and made some songs?
Me and Zephyr have just started doing that. Actually, it's been a process of he had a very busy material life before all of this. He's got his stuff. You can tell he's in what you call an old soul, because he's 16 still, and he's got $17,000 in the bank. Got his $5,000 truck. He's got his shit together, and he has his stuff together in the material world. So all that's really left is what's left to do but explore who I am as a soul, and that's where we're at right now. I've already been making music. I already know where I could be. It's more or less, I've been recording on an iPhone 7 with clogged speakers and a cracked screen.
Well, right there, you're an example of people doing the best they can with what they got and not worrying.
I got a laptop and a microphone now. I'm getting acoustic electric. I have 2 acoustics. I have 3 electrics, but I'm trying to get an electric acoustic so I can plug that right into the computer and just,
What do you use what music are you using? GarageBand, or what?
It's called BandLab.
And then, is that pretty easy to send files back and forth through?
Yeah, it is pretty much. It has really not been fun to make music at all using that app, because I don't have a way to plug headphones into this thing, so I have to, how it is trying to record layers on a song when there's echo, and that's been my biggest issue, because I don't have a way to cancel the sound out in between tracks on this phone. I don't know. I have there's a song I'm writing, a couple songs right now that it took a minute for me to even be able to sing in my own household. Do you understand? Be comfortable with that, be able to even be myself around my own family, And that's where I'm really getting right now. I feel like my throat chakra has been divinely activated, and it's go time. I mean,
your music is great.
Mm-hmm.
It's very melodic. It's very melodic, and I'm glad that you're getting it out there.
I'll share all my songs with you if you're down. It's just
Oh my God, yeah, absolutely. Do you have a SoundCloud page that people could hear any of your music?
not yet. And when I do, it's gonna be. I don't know. I plan on getting my name around my town first. It's funny because my town's name is literally my name, but
That's crazy.
yeah, it's just with like an S at the end.
That's crazy.
It is.
Wow, dude.
It's all orchestrated for me, and I just
Ye-
gotta be me. I gotta be authentic.
Yeah.
I plan on performing in bars and stuff. Like I'll get like the lineup of popular songs and get them down or whatever. Some popular songs in the bar, and then at the end you play your own songs, and if people are interested, they get coming back, tell their friends, all that stuff. And now there's social media. I'm not worried about a thing. I know my authentic self will carry me wherever I need to go.
Mm-hmm.
And I just haven't got off the ground yet. Well, I have, but I'm sitting in bed eating banana chips right now. It makes me feel. This is the whole thing with this knowledge. It can be a burden when you see yourself not really doing anything with it. It can make you feel like a bad person. It can make you feel like anything really. If you just listen to those negative thoughts all day, you really become whatever you think you are, whatever you want to be. I want to be light in the darkness. I want to be love on this planet. And I mean, I post this stuff for people in my school to see. People in my school, like, there's people who vibe with me. There's people who think I'm absolutely nuts. But that's the whole thing. That's where I'm at right now. I've already got my message across to a lot of people in my school. But it really starts with I want to be able to perform in my school's gymnasium. I want to do all this stuff. I want to be able to go crazy. I want to start a movement within my own school so that it spreads to other schools,
Well, I'm glad that you're still in school and you have this knowledge and you're able to. I mean, imagine
it's been a battle because I have not really been wanting to do anything with school. You understand? Because I understand at a base level what it is. It's programming. Your brain pretty much fries in there all day, and then at a certain point, you're like, I'm sick of being bored. Maybe I should just listen. And it kind of just caves your mind into this narrow pathway at the end of the pyramid to adulting. And I'm seeing kids that I grew up with who are just bland and like they lost that bright light that used to shine. Like it's still there, obviously, but it's dimmed because of all the other people's voices that run through their mind.
Well, just know that there are others who think these same thoughts, and while you have this time in school, and you're not out yet, now is a good time for you to find those other people who understand those concepts, and because every school has like a club.
We got the Rolling Stones around here. We found Jimi Hendrix.
Awesome.
There's a lot of souls, dude. 144,000. You're a part of them.
Yeah, I've heard about the 144,000. Actually, I just realized we have probably 8 minutes left here before this hangs up on us. And what I'll do is I'll split this into 2 episodes, 1 hour long episodes. I'll spread this out. So what would you say? What are some pieces of wisdom if that you'd like to give to the listener that they could, that could give them hope or give them some sort of solace in knowing that they're on the right path?
What feels natural is the answer. Who you were before, as a baby, when you were just laying there in your crib, that energy you had about you, without anybody yelling at you, without anybody saying anything to you, that was your natural energy. You were just being you. Even though you couldn't move, what you were doing as you were being a pillar of light, you were delivering information to the souls around you. We forget as babies what we're really doing. And to be right now, if you were just not thinking about anybody else, what would you do right now if you had the chance to make yourself feel good? You sit with that.
What would I be doing now if I did if I wasn't accountable to anyone? Is that what you're imagining?
No, I'm saying, like, if you're just alone by yourself, you're not thinking through anybody else's. Oh, I have to go do this later for that person. That person wants me to do this, even though I'm not really interested in it. Detach yourself from all of that. Sit there with yourself. What feels so natural that if I started doing it right now, I would literally just start dancing pretty much. I'd just get lost in the moment, forget about everything else except the very moment of just being in that bliss state of fun. And that really comes from being unconditional love. The natural emotion for our soul is unconditional love. And all your energy centers in your body are the instrument. You are an instrument as a human being. And you have to tune all those energy centers so that the sound can flow through, the energy can flow through. As above, so below. It flows through your spine. They can't have blockages to be natural, you know? You have to get rid of all those things. And it really is just, you have to pull the energy up. The energy you feel stuck, pull it up to your head. Look at it. Look at what it is. Face it for what it is. That's how you release those things. It really is as simple as your mind can make it. Like, find any way that makes it easy for you. Like, for example, when I have negative thoughts, I envision a lasso, and I start winding the lasso up, and I tighten it around the negative thought, and I just yeet it up into the sky, and I just, like when you see a star twinkle and then it disappears.
Right.
Yeah, that's where it goes. It gets transmuted in unconditional love instantaneously. And I don't think another thing about it. It's, you use your imagination as much as you can in this. Like the Akashic Records, that was purely your imagination, even though you connected to something that helped your imagination proceed farther into it. Like, you seen things that you'd feel like were generated before your mind even had the chance, and then they kind of just merged into each other. It's still the same thing. Your imagination is what creates all of this. This very conversation is held together by our belief that it can happen.
Brilliant, dude. Well, it was great talking to you, and I'll let you know when I get this out. And I look forward to it. Should I not tag you on Instagram, or should I tag you on Instagram?
I would not like anybody to know who I am.
Okay, gotcha. All right, cool. All right, so it'll be out there in the world.
For a couple, like, we can fill in the time if you would like right now. I want to do this thing. Okay, we're gonna make a chi ball real quick. Get your hands.
Okay.
Clap them. All right, now start rubbing them together. Make that friction with your hands.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, when it starts getting, you can feel the friction. It starts getting pretty hot.
Yeah.
Separate them and then start like back and forth. Bring your hands back and forth. Feel that friction between them. Your fingers feel like they're almost shaking. Like you can feel their fingers creaking underneath the energy. Then form a ball. Form like a ball of plasma. It's called a chi ball. You're using your life force energy to make that. Can you feel it?
Yeah.
Okay, bring it to your solar plexus. Imagine, you know what the Metatron cube is, right?
Yes.
Okay, place that in it. It doesn't even matter if you can envision it. Just set the intention that it's in there. Turn that thing yellow. Bring it to your solar plexus. Now, imagine an anchor shooting right down into the center of the planet and just grounding into Gaia's energy, the Earth's energy, in through your solar plexus.
Wow.
It's going to ground you. You might see DNA spirals. You could see a lot of things. It's going to activate a memory within you. DNA is memory. Now, let that light anchor. Let it flow through you. Okay. Now anchor into what's above. Anchor into the source energy through that same ball. Like you have a pillar going down and a pillar going up, and anchor into both. And so mote it be in Source's name.
That's great.
It feels very refreshing. It can feel very blissful.
It does. Before every show, my buddy and I, Mike, well, he's my brother in the band, Paulie Shores. I go by Stony Shores in the band. Everybody's got their own name, but Paulie and I, we do this sort of like meditation exercise, and he was the one who told me about that chi energy. And right before we go on stage, there's a certain, hand movements and all this stuff that you're doing, and it's just like it helps like activate you when you're on stage and get you into that zone. It's so powerful. So this is it, and it makes so much sense that, of course, that you teach me this specific exercise, because now I'll be using this in the future.
Yeah, it really, that's how you ground into earth. If you do it with your feet on the ground, it's even more powerful, because your feet are literally like energetic portals. They receive and give information from the planet. So do your hands, like all of it. And when you allow that to flow up through your body, it cleanses you, it rejuvenates you. Sun gazing is like connecting a light bridge, to be honest, because you already have that internal light, and then the sun is the manifestation of that light on the outside. So once you sun gaze, you close your eyes and you let that light fill your head up. It's like connecting the bridge between the two sides, and that's when you can really talk to Source.
Ooh.
Your eyes start to, like, you ever seen people's eyes start to roll up? You can see that whites of their eyes.
Yeah.
Whatever. Yeah, that's their eyes like magnetizing to their mind's eye, and they kind of lock there. It's not uncomfortable at all. It's it comes in this very blissful, peaceful state, and your eyes don't even they feel so comfortable actually, and it's almost like you can look up through your head pretty much. Like you have a spine, it's going straight up, straight down. All there really is in existence is up, down, left, and right, and you can look up through that crown chakra. Like there's a center point to it, and it's awesome.
Dude, well, thank you so much for sharing. We're about 30 seconds away from this hanging up on us, but dude, thank you so much. And I'm really excited about sharing this out there in the world and seeing how it's going to turn on people.
It's going to activate their memories.
Yes, you better believe it.
How many people do you think will listen to this?
I have no idea. I'm on so many podcast apps and directories. I'm always adding it to new stuff. So
I'm just concerned about how far the message of love will go. And that's
I think it'll go far.
If somebody even listens to 10 minutes of this podcast, they'll get something out of it.
Yes, indeed they will. You better believe it.
All right, well, peace, brother.
Take care, and I'll talk to you later.
Yes, sir.
All right, bye.
This is Blythe Baines, and you're listening to Inspirado Projecto.
It's a face palm, a balm of calm, like a napalm bomb. It's a face palm, crumbly malm of loamy alms. And how soon do you think you to do it again? It's a face palm, here it come, alms playing Brahms on prom. And how soon do you think you to do it again? Have the homes from Guam to the cable comes. Are the rom diatoms glom in their moms? It's a face palm, the book of psalms and rhymes and rums. And how soon do you think you'll do it again?